You know how in the Bible God uses other nations to um, place judgment. I mean, it's in the Bible on another nation, okay? It's happened to Israel in the Old Testament, and Israel did it to other nations, okay? It's in the Bible. However, it doesn't mean that God's happy with those nations. He uses the nations he's not happy with to judge the ones that should be following him. I mean, everybody should be following him, but clearly there's some that just don't. So he'll use a nation's enemies sometimes to bring judgment on his people. So it's interesting that there's shadow bands in solar eclipses. You know, it's the dark. And yet, tech on every platform is suppressing, and God could totally do something about it. Easily. Tech is not more powerful than God. I mean, I think many of them think they are. But just like God uses the nations he's not happy with to place judgment on another nation that has fallen away from him. That's what tech's doing. So I just put up a short video showing this about solar eclipses and how there's shadow bands in solar eclipses. They're like these waves. They call them shadow bands. And shadow banning is on a platform of somebody is basically making them invisible. And does that mean God's happy with tech? No. It's the same thing as the nations he's not happy with, but he'll use those nations to bring judgment on a nation that's fallen away from him. And unfortunately, that's what I think is happening with shadow banning. Because to shadow ban me about speaking Jesus, because it doesn't go along with the official narrative of Jesus, even though I'm backing up what I'm saying with the Bible, is showing a nation that has to be under judgment, because we were once supposedly a nation that allows free speech. And God can turn that at any time. Tech is not more powerful than God. Nobody is. But why doesn't he? Because he's still waiting. And he's patient. I don't know how long he'll wait. I guess hundreds of years. Maybe thousands. And the cycle will just continue to repeat. And as the people still don't get it, they'll lose more liberties. It's clear in the Bible that when a nation starts to lose liberties, they're under judgment. So even though, the administration would likely say, oh, you're talking negatively. No, I'm talking honestly. Again, I struggle with this whole, great, we have to speak greatness into the universe. Okay, yeah, that's wonderful to do once people recognize where we have fallen. Because if liberties are still being suppressed, and they are, then it means God has not lifted judgment. I mean, to think that America's been under judgment since Lincoln to Kennedy, and Kennedy was a long line. In many people's eyes, the ending of the Civil War was we were no longer under judgment. No, we still were. The dangers with all the advancement and all the wealth, you could see that as a blessing or a curse depending on where the people are. Trump has all this money coming into America, right? And even with the Supreme Court ruling that he can't do this anymore, well, he's found a way to still do it. under a different section, almost like he knew that this is what they were going to do. So he just, okay, we're now doing it under this section, and we're raising the tariffs to 15%, I think I last saw. So, and then if he wants, he'll move it under another section, okay? So bringing money into the nation, yet the people themselves are still, no, our liberties haven't been restored. And the fact is, I don't know which founder said it, that once you lose a liberty, you don't get it back. Well, the only way you get it back is returning to God, because you only have liberty if you are on God's side, and God is made number one. God has been very patient with America because he knows America can meet this challenge. But America cannot stay in this surface Christianity, nor can it do this let's force Christian nationalism on the people. No, that's the Doug Wilson and the male masculinity movement. That has nothing to do with God's word. They just use God's word in a unproductive and disruptive, really, way that goes against Jesus's teachings in every way. But why did you get the Doug Wilsons to begin with? Why did the Protestants fall so far away? I mean, God clearly had something going on with them in the beginning, but it fell away quickly. So it's fine, to have this excuse of separation of church and state. You do need that, because otherwise you'll get the lunatics like Doug Wilson's idea of Christianity, which doesn't even come close to being Christian. So you need it because of those types. However, the individual people themselves surrendering to God, that's what God's looking for. The church has been the surface Christianity, and God's looking for, no, now you're at the 250 years, America. Your maturity level should be past this male masculinity stuff and into a place where you can come into union with me, and more than that, to where you surrender to me. When you can do that, then I'll pour all blessings upon your nation. I will give all liberties back, and I will pour more blessings on America than any other nation up to this point. But it have to step up here. I know that in the past many years, people have repented and turned back to God. You have to take that next step and surrender fully to the Father, just the way Jesus did. I'm not saying you need to go get nailed to a cross. That's not what I mean. I mean, you need to follow God's way. Jesus' way was the way the Father wanted you to follow. The churches have been all basically made up of men that want to ignore many of the things that I say in my videos, because I don't think many of the churches truly want God's kingdom. They want man's kingdom, but we want it to look the way we think it should look, instead of the way God has had it planned since before he even made man. So, believe me, you will know when God has truly blessed America, because there'll be so many blessings pouring out on all that it would be undeniable.